Hello everyone and welcome to a new special edition of Medidas Cautelares. The statement of businessman Victor Daldama as a defendant has just concluded in the Supreme Court, as you know, as part of the trial in the Coldo case. And since today we don't have time to go to our official Medidas Cautelares studio, we're going to do it live here, from this car, of course. And we're going to tell you the most important things from Victor Daldama's statement in the Supreme Court, which I found devastating, brutal. We're going to go over the most important things he said, but before anything else, I'd just like to make a brief reflection. And it's just devastating the picture of corruption that today the businessman Victor Daldama has laid bare. Nothing more and nothing less than talking about the Spanish government, about a prime minister who is up to his ears in corruption, about his wife, about I don't know how many ministers. Honestly, it makes you want to cry to see what Pedro Sánchez and all his henchmen are turning Spain into. I have to say that I had already told you that Victor Daldama's statement was going to be brutal, powerful, and I have to tell you that it has lived up to all expectations. He has addressed many topics, and it has helped to put together the pieces of everything that has been discussed during these days of the trial in the Coldo case. And the truth is that Daldama has presented himself as a real encyclopedia of Sanchez-linked corruption. To start with several topics, because there are so many things he has said that it's really hard to process everything Victor Daldama has told us. Practically every 2 or 3 minutes he was making headlines. Victor Daldama's statement has been brutal, and by the way, he ended that appearance almost with tears in his eyes.
Arrepintiéndose.
He was regretting the alleged crimes committed and also showing his complete willingness to cooperate with the justice system, and today's statement is proof of that. To begin with, Victor Daldama has stated, among other things, that the trip of Delsi Rodríguez to Spain, who is Nicolas Maduro's number 2. Do you already know about the Venezuelan dictatorship? It was agreed upon with the Prime Minister himself, Pedro Sánchez, and with José Luis Ábalos. They knew perfectly well that there were sanctions against Delsi Rodríguez, that she couldn't enter European soil, and even so, they organized and endorsed this visit by Delsi Rodríguez. Victor Daldama described what happened on the night of January 20th, 2020, almost like something out of a Torrente movie. That's exactly what he said when suddenly they tell him that just as Delsi Rodríguez is about to land at the airport, Delsi Rodríguez has to turn around and go back to Venezuela. And he says that under no circumstances is he going to give that order to Delsi Rodríguez because they already knew beforehand about the sanctions against Delsi Rodríguez herself. He also explained that he had organized a dinner, which was already known in the case file, and that none other than Pedro Sánchez himself was going to attend. And many ministers like the Minister of Health Salvador Illa, the Minister of Finance and Vice President Maria Jesus Montero, and so on, a long list of ministers who were going to have dinner that night with Delsi Rodríguez. Daldama also said that he had already rented a house for Delsi to come. With all her bodyguards, her personal chefs, everything was perfectly prepared, and the trip had been approved by Pedro Sánchez. And we continue with Pedro Sánchez because he has revealed a shocking matter about Pedro Sánchez. Specifically, a government contract awarded to the Valencian railway company Stadler. According to what Daldama said, that contract was pushed through by the Prime Minister himself, Pedro Sánchez, because a part of those billions of euros paid by all Spaniards was going to illegally finance the party. One of the main issues that Daldama has brought up during his statement has been the illegal financing of the Socialist Party. With the money of all Spaniards, with the public works contracts that José Luis Ábalos and Coldo Garcia rigged, with these contracts even pushed by Pedro Sánchez himself. It has been shocking. He also mentioned, as expected, Begoña Gómez. What about Begoña Gómez? Victor Daldama said that CEPI was going to put up for sale a property called Campos Velázquez, which is a very important building in Madrid, and that they contacted Daldama to see if he was interested in buying it. He made an offer, and when they were about to give him that building, that he was going to buy it, Suddenly, Koldo comes to him and says no, that the purchase can't go through because someone else wanted to keep the building. The very Empress of the Mud herself, that is the wife of the president of the government, Begoña Gómez, to do business with the Instituto de Empresa. That is, the wife of the president of the government is also involved in this matter. It's all scandalous. As I said, the picture that Victor Daldama has painted is devastating, and he has also denied receiving illegal commissions related to the buying and selling of medical supplies, masks, and so on. He said that a pool of money was created to be distributed among all the participants, but that they were legal commissions, which, according to him, were not illegal commissions, for supplying those masks. And he also said he was proud that they reached all Spaniards during the pandemic. He has also recalled, of course, that José Luis Ábalos' prostitute was paid. José Luis Ábalos' prostitute, Jessica Rodríguez, the famous apartment in Plaza de España, and that Aldama also justified continuing to pay for that apartment after Ábalos was no longer with Jessica Rodríguez because, according to Aldama, Jessica Rodríguez had a compromising video of Ábalos, and that's why Ábalos wanted to keep paying for her apartment. He also recounted how on a trip to Mexico he personally made the purchase. Or rather, he hired the services of two women because when he was told that José Luis Ábalos needed to relax. He also spoke about two other apartments he rented in Madrid, specifically involving women to please, among others, the Minister of Territorial Policy, Ángel Víctor Torres. He also pointed to the President of Congress, Francine Armengol, because she agreed to contract with the company involved in the scheme, Soluciones de Gestión, which, as you know, is the main company. All this story. Aldama has also added nuance to the testimony of the businesswoman Carmen Pano. She said that she took bags to the headquarters of the Socialist Party on Ferran Street, 90,000 euros in 2 bags on 2 different days, and that she had given that money to Aldama. According to Aldama, it is true that she gave him money, but it was not for Carmen Pano to give it to the Socialist Party. There have also been some funny moments, for example, when Aldama recalled that Koldo Garcia was completely obsessed with collecting dinner receipts from restaurants because he could submit all of them at the Socialist Party headquarters on Ferran Street and they would reimburse him. And Aldama even went so far as to say that Koldo would pick up restaurant receipts from the floor. It was tremendous. We also can't forget about another issue related to Venezuela. I mentioned Delsi Rodríguez earlier, but obviously there's also the alleged illegal financing of the Socialist Party with funds coming from Venezuela from Nicolás Maduro, and with the limitations that come from the fact that this matter is currently being investigated in secret by the head of the Central Court of Instruction No. 2 of the National Court, Ismael Moreno, Aldama has indeed given many details about how everything happened. This information about the famous PDVSA oil allotments, valued at $250 million, which were eventually given to him by the Maduro regime, but Aldama has said that initially the ones who were going to give him the oil allotments were not Nicolás Maduro, but rather Juan Guaidó, the one who was the elected president of Venezuela, the opposition to Maduro, who had won the elections and with whom they had made a pact that they were going to help them with those oil allotments with a series of oil companies that he controlled. Guaidó, thanks to the United States. And yet, when there is already a pact with Pedro Sánchez to support Guaidó, Pedro Sánchez even makes some public gestures. José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero enters the scene, que se pone a presionar, and he manages to get Pedro Sánchez, instead of siding with Guaidó, to side with Nicolás Maduro. And because of that, in the end, those oil allotments are not given by Guaidó, but by Maduro's regime, to finance the Socialist International, which Pedro Sánchez ended up presiding over, and to finance the Socialist Party itself? Aldama made it clear that Sánchez, for whatever reason, because of his thirst for power, was under pressure to preside over the Socialist International. In conclusion, I think it was a devastating statement. Koldo has come out almost better than Abalos, because what Aldama has done in the end is put the spotlight mainly on Abalos and almost reduced the figure of Koldo Garcia. Well, a person, I wouldn't say endearing, but someone he got along with very well. They laughed a lot together. And in the end, well, what Koldo did was follow orders from Abalos himself. It should be noted that the trial will continue tomorrow, and it will be the turn of Jose Luis Abalos himself and Koldo Garcia, and of course you will have all the information here on Medidas Cautelares. That's it for this edition of Medidas Cautelares. I hope you enjoyed this special edition recorded in the car, because we didn't have time to get to the Medidas Cautelares studio, since now we have to go to the radio for Carlos Cuesta's show. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, the summary I made for you. Remember to leave your comments. Give the video a like, share the video with whoever you want, and for those who haven't done it yet. Then remember to subscribe to the Medidas Cautelares channel, because we're just about to reach 128,000 subscribers. You can also become members, like Los Elegidos for less than 3 euros a month, or like Los Supremos for less than 7 euros a month. The most important thing, as I always tell you, is that this information reaches everyone, because information is power. See you soon.